Welcome back to our NixiTube manufacturing channel. In this video I want to do a summary of 2022 and talk about plans for 2023. I want to talk more broadly about all possible topics related to our business and the way how we work and the projects we work on, to give you all the background. So this is going to be a long video and I hope you will have enough patience for it. Before we get to 2022, I want to sum it up for the people who came later to this channel. So my name is Dalibor. Some 11 years ago I found the technology of NixiTubes, and I found that this technology is already extinct, or was at this time. And I got this idea that I want to make them myself, and over the time I managed to put together a small business which we are now, which produces the NixiTubes. We are 8 people in full-time job and several other people who work for us part-time. As a business we have a lot of different expenses, and to pay for these expenses we need to have some product, and the main product for us are our Nixi clocks. So at the moment it's Pure Clock and Blab Clock, and these two clocks, the production of these two clocks, are the backbone of our business. We try to achieve some level of series production for them so that we can distribute all the costs across more units. It's still all handmade, so we make like 100-150 clocks per year of the Pure clocks and a little bit more of Blab clocks. Aside from the series clocks, we have several other projects that we take. You can see one of them is here, the big one. The main motivation to take and do such projects is to get some more skills, to learn some new knowledge that we would not learn by our standard Nixi clock production, and later hopefully somehow distill this knowledge into our series product, so into new clocks. As for our organization, as I mentioned, we are very small, just 8 people full-time, so it's often very chaotic with one person doing 3 or 4 different things, but we try to split what we do into like several fields of responsibilities. So we have manufacturing with 3 people working full-time in manufacturing. The responsibility of these people is to be the best in manufacturing of the NixiTubes. So they need to learn how to make all the NixiTubes perfectly uniform, even, and do them with high yield. So we have very low rejection rate in the production and very low amount of complaints from the customers, because we have very perfectionist customers. Then we have R&D people, and the responsibility of the R&D people is to take an idea, either our internal idea or idea from a customer, and develop the procedures and select good materials, and find out how to make an idea into reality. And then once they have all the procedures, manufacturing procedures and everything, they develop some kind of documentation and teach the people in the production how to make them. So the people in R&D just think and break problems, but don't do the series production, but cooperate with the people in the manufacturing. So that's the idea how we work. So as you can see, we need to have some series product so that people in R&D who think it up can bring it later to the production. So this is how we work, and this is just the background and illustration, so that you can, when you see all the individual things in the other videos, it will hopefully fit into this bigger picture. This is a custom project. We work on it for an artist from Chile, and once it is finished, it will be installed in a museum in Japan. We already have, by the way, the date when we are installing the project, and it will be from 10 to 14th of July 2023. So now we have firm date because Originally we had different date, and then COVID came, and the exhibition was postponed, so we got 2 more years, and now it's already 2.5 years since we started working on this project. And yeah, we needed this extra time. It came very helpful. Anyway, we now have all the electronics finished. We have also the Nixie tube itself developed, and it moved from the pain of R&D into a small-scale series production. So we are now able to make roughly 10 pieces per 2 weeks. So it's very, very slow, and also the rejection rate is higher than for our Nixie tube, because it's obviously it's at the beginning of the production. But I'm happy that the idea works and we are able to make it. So here we have 3 rows of perfectly working tubes. These tubes are from the beginning of the experiments, and they are not working. These are prototypes, but we keep them for observation. Once we have all the panel filled with the Nixie tubes, we will pack it and ship it to Japan. And we want to ship it by sea, because if we are able to pack it on a pallet, then the tube will get much lower amount of impacts than if we ship it separately, in boxes by air freight. So once this project is successfully finished and installed in Japan, we can start thinking about how to use this new Nixie tube in a next product, next clock possibly. And this was actually my main motivation why to start working on this project, because as a result we would have a nice new Nixie tube. At the moment I don't know any details about the availability or price or anything, just some numbers. This tube, just the parts for this tube, the raw parts that we order from suppliers, are 10 to 20 times more expensive than the parts that we use for our R tube, the regular one. So we will need to work hard on the production process to make it more reasonable. The first product that will come with the H tubes will be probably a single tube clock in cooperation with Frank Buchwald. We already discussed some details. If you never heard about Frank Buchwald, I really recommend you to check out his website and to see all the metal creation he does. He is a Berlin-based designer, and he originally came from illustrating sci-fi literature, and now he does his metal sculptures. Very, very exciting and very tedious process. We were honored to develop for him the electronics and the Nixie tubes for the Nixie Machine 2 and 3. There are also some projects with the R-Tube that we participate on. There is also a solar display being developed by Ricard from Sweden. There is a project of a VU meter where we develop a new tube for Paul Perry and Jan Sparks. And there is a custom project of a flight race display being built for Travis from United States. So these are the projects that will keep us busy in 2023. Let's now get to some statistics from 2022. Let's start with my favorite metrics, and this is leakage occurrence. Leakage is by far the most serious problem we ever had, especially at the beginning of the production, and this histogram represents how we do in solving the problem. So every tube has a serial number. You can see the serial numbers on the bottom of the screen. We are now roughly at 16,000 for the R tube, so we made around 16,000 tubes so far. Each of these bars represents 100 tubes. On the y-axis we have percentage of the failures in this batch. So for instance, the worst absolutely was somewhere around 1000 serial number, and we had so far, so this is roughly year 2015-16, so far these tubes were reported to have 26% failure rate, which is very high. So we worked a lot over the years to bring the reliability of our Nixie tubes higher, and finally, since serial number 8000, which is middle of the year 2019, so it's already 3.5 years, we consider the development more or less finished. It will never be finished, but more or less we understand what's going on with the leakage. And since then we had just a handful of tubes reported to be leaky. So at the beginning of 2023 we are now at roughly 99.5% reliability for the tubes made in the last 3.5 years, which is very good. All the tubes that were reported faulty by customers were replaced because we have the 10 years warranty. Over the years we've become completely obsessed with the reliability and quality, because it's a rational thing, because if the product that you make works, then you don't have any unpredictable costs in the future with replacing the faulty units. And then if you don't keep the reliability at 100%, there always pop up some problematic things. Perfect example of such a Murphy's Law is this article on TechCrunch, which features our Nixie machine 2 clock, which was made by Frank Buchwald. I found that one of the tubes made a leak here. It developed a leak, and so part of this number 2 is not glowing anymore, and the photographer didn't see it, or maybe they just ignored it, and we had no chance to replace this tube. So the clock was photographed and made it to TechCrunch article showing the problem that we have in the production. So for this reason we always want to make sure that our products are 100%, because you never know where they will be used for such a one-off occasion like a photo session for TechCrunch. So another metrics, cathode poisoning. This is very similar problem to leakage, but the difference here is that the non-glowing segments are developed not on the bottom but somewhere in the upper sections of the digits. The problem is most likely caused by contamination of the materials, of the raw materials used for the production of Nixie tubes, or by the manufacturing process itself. We found this experimentally, not intentionally of course, in 2018, where we had a problem with fog. Because it was such a serious trouble, we took our old production into pieces and went step by step and found places where we can improve it so that this never happens in the future. And you can see that since this time we had only like 2 occasions where the tubes failed. So that's for the reliability on the customer side, and now for the yield or rejection rate on our side during the production for the R tubes. So in 2021 we rejected, we assembled 2,385 tubes. We had to reject 18% of the tubes. In 2022 we assembled a little bit more, 2,428 tubes. The rejection rate dropped by this is 14%, so roughly by 4%. That's not bad, 100 tubes roughly less rejected. And just quickly for the column tubes, these are the small tubes that separate minutes from seconds and minutes from hours in our clocks. This is a special tube that we developed to complement our main R tube. So in 2021 we rejected almost 31% of the column tubes, and in 2022 we were able to decrease this number to 23%. So you can see that the rejection rate on the column tubes is quite high. That's one of the reasons why we don't sell them separately or don't provide them for any other projects. They are just too risky for us to make, and we make them only in the numbers that we need to use in our clocks. The last 2 years brought a lot of problems, and in 2023 we'll have to find solution for many of them. So the first problem are components. It takes much longer to receive the components that we order. They often come in worse quality than we used to, and so on. A lot of different problems. And there is especially one problem that we always had. Nobody from the suppliers want to do prototyping for us because they have expensive tooling and they want to run large batches of the production. So we want to add more capabilities to our own workshop so that we are able to do more prototyping techniques ourselves, and then once we have the part prototyped, we will go to the supplier and ask for the production. As an example, a couple of months ago we bought this CNC router so we can prototype parts from aluminum. We are also building a pick and place machine. This one is called Light Placer. It came as a kit, so we need to build it, but so far it looks very promising. One of the first boards that we will assemble is this one. It contains over 500 parts and it will be done in just a couple of minutes. Another problem that we might have this year is related to high cost of energies. The production itself is not very energy hungry, it's quite efficient. The highest cost for us is heating of the space. So we pay quite a lot of money for heating the castle. It's old building, so the costs are high. So last summer, when the prices were attacking 1,000 euros per megawatt hour, I made a decision to build a small solar plant. And the idea was that if the prices goes up, then the income from the solar plant will also go up, offsetting the cost for us in the castle. So this year I want to connect the solar plant to the grid. So every week I make some small steps and I want to have it in March finished and connected to the grid. I based the system on Victron, which is modular, so I can expand it later. So this year I want to install 15 kilowatts in inverters and around 15-16 kilowatt in the solar panels. I do it myself over weekends and without any governmental support, which makes it longer, but I'm more flexible. I also need to figure out how to set up the system so it complies to all the grid restrictions. This is what I don't know yet how to do. There are some other problems like high inflation in our country. Currently it's 17%, so year to year people have 17% less income. So we'll have to find a solution, like a way for how to increase their salaries, and we were used to do it by increasing our efficiency in the production. As you saw, we were able to increase the yield in the production so that the production cost for one Nixie tubes are lower. But the previous years we were improving by a couple of percent, and suddenly we have 17% inflation. So there is no way how we can keep up with this. And the general strategy for us is to pay people more than they would get in a similar job, so that they want to stay with us, improve over years their skills, which will translate into better product. So that's what I need to calculate carefully in this year. And as for the efficiency, currently we have too many projects open, so that's very stressful. And the strategy will be to finish the open projects and then focus only on one internal project, like one clock that will be our design and our idea, and then continue with 2 or 3 collaborative projects where we will just supply the electronics, maybe some parts, do something exciting together with some other designer or some other brand. There are so many things and topics that I could talk about for a long time. The video is already quite long, so if you have any questions, any suggestions for topics, or if you're interested in some particular topics, just let me know in the comments and I will address them in the future videos. Last year I tried to come up with bi-weekly videos. This was quite a lot of work. It actually took roughly third to half of my weekly time. Right now we are struggling to become more efficient, so if I'm spending half of my time in the videos, then it's just not possible. This year I will try to make one video per month and we'll see how it will go. See you!